As we're looking at Chapter 15, we're looking at messaging and disseminating excellence in leadership. And when we look at the concept of communication, we've touched on communication throughout our discussions and how really valuable and critical communication actually is within our practice and our relationships with others as well. So we need to be very consistent and concise with our communication. And just remember, if there's missing information, that people tend to fill in the blanks, and those very often they fill in the blanks with negative things. So it's really important as a manager or as a leader to be very clear as far as the communication that you're providing to those that you serve. So when we're looking at building some of those relationships and building those communication competencies, we want to make sure that we're really connecting with those that we serve, and how we're connecting with them and looking back at transformational leadership as far as empowering others and helping them to be successful. And that ties in many of the things that we've already discussed within the course as far as succession planning and mentoring and all those very valuable components of leadership. So one thing I do want to mention also is that shared decision making and how important it is to include those who are involved in the decision making process. So you're building that community of involvement, that culture that builds empowerment within your leadership practice. So always keep those things in mind as you're developing your communication plans and communicating with your staff. So what we want to be sure is that even if you aren't verbally saying things, you are being watched. And consider even your actions may be interpreted as a certain type of communication, and it's important to keep that in mind, because sometimes our words say one thing and our actions say another. It's really important to walk the walk and talk the talk. Everything must be consistent for you to be an authentic leadership. So just kind of keep that in mind. And on the same note, as we're looking at how we practice and building that ethical practice within your organization, it's really important to focus in on being consistent with the code of ethics for nurses and assuring that those that you serve have the culture to practice in an ethical manner. And that's clearly very, very important as you're developing your culture within your organization. So as we're addressing ethics in general, it's a critical factor to really focus on risk and looking at making sure that you understand the legal framework for your actions, and that may entail actually engaging folks that are in different areas of practice to help you to navigate some of those risk events that may occur as you are a leader. So just kind of keep those very broad aspects in mind as you're reading through the chapter, and know the value of those ethics committees as well, that they're such a critical part of working through some of those dilemmas. And the characteristic of a dilemma, there's no right and wrong reason. There's possibly a lesser of the evils type reason when there is truly a dilemma. So it takes those key committees to work through some of those very troubling situations that occur in healthcare and that occur with folks that are emotionally charged because of the healthcare of their loved one or someone that they're in a relationship with. So as the chapter progresses, we're looking at writing executive summaries, and again, it ties back to being very clear and concise with your communication skills. And very often it's almost more difficult to write in a very concise manner than it is to just state everything. So this is a skill that is very important to actually refine as you move forward. And some of the things to remember as you're writing executive summaries and summarizing huge amounts of information is to know who your audience is, know who you're writing for, and what's important for them to know. And I do just want to highlight some of the most important parts of an executive summary as you're reading through your book. I want to highlight this, that of course you have the organization name and location. You have something that really grabs your reader. You want something that is a statement that really focuses on the purpose of the executive summary. You want to summarize the problem or the issue, and you may want to include something about the competition if there is competition involved, and look at solutions or recommendations. What are the highest priorities, and what is out there in the evidence that will help you as far as delineating what the solution or the recommendation may be. And focus on who will do the work and return on investment. Those are key components. And of course you want to tie everything up in a nice little package and include your conclusion as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. Those factors are really important to really summarize massive amounts of information. You want to make sure that you're being persuasive in how you're presenting your materials. So if you have any questions or concerns, let me know. I hope you enjoy Chapter 15. And again, I can't stress how important communication is and developing those cultures and those relationships as you're practicing as a reader. Take care now.